Thank you for joining us today. I am Emily, an AP expert at Yooz, an app that automates the entire accounts payable and purchase to pay process using powerful artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies. Today, we're going to reveal the results of our first worldwide survey, the State of Automation in Finance. Now, this is a first edition, the post-digital era, that uncovers challenges never seen before that finance leaders and accounting departments will face over the next 12 months, as well as the potential solutions businesses are looking at to overcome these issues. Looking at our agenda today, firstly, with closed offices, reduced workforces, working from home, if 2020 was the year of disruption, 2021 is really the year of embracing change. Almost overnight, the COVID-19 pandemic sent waves of uncertainty and turmoil through businesses of all sizes and in all markets. And those that survived, and indeed thrived, were the ones that were able to instantly adapt. As this annual survey will later uncover, the implications of the pandemic are going to be felt for years, and we'll discover in this first part the challenges of a world in crisis, cybersecurity, process control, digital transformation, amongst others. We'll also have a look at accounts payable current situation. Only 1 out of 5 accounts finance departments use automated processes. What are the reasons, and what kind of digital tools are businesses using today to optimize and automate their accounting processes? And last, what will be the key technological investments of companies? What's the criteria they're focusing on before investing? What kind of objectives do they seek to achieve? To summarize, what is your peers' plan of actions to overcome the current challenges? So why did we actually do this survey? So first of all, understanding the expectations and visions of accounting and financial departments in the pandemic context was very important. And also identifying the right technology tools to help finance decision makers adapt to 2021 challenges and realize tomorrow's opportunities. Now, the survey was conducted using specialist online panels that enable us to target people who work in accounts or finance departments. And we then used screening questions to ensure that the people we spoke to had day-to-day involvement and oversight of either or both of the invoicing or accounts payable processes in their organization. In total, we completed 1,055 interviews across 8 different countries, and at a top level, the results were accurate to more or less 3% at 95% confidence levels, assuming a result of 50%. In total, 217 interviews were completed in the UK, and it's these results we're focusing on today. Now, the findings explored throughout this report confirm the challenges faced and facing financial leaders as a result of the COVID-19 health crisis. 64% of the CFOs we talked to in Luxembourg said that the pandemic significantly impacted their invoice processing ability. Digital transformation has really rapidly accelerated. 76% of decision makers surveyed agreed that COVID had accelerated the digital transformation of accounting and finance services, and that can only be a good thing. And businesses really now realize how bad they had it before and are placing much greater emphasis on becoming more efficient, more productive, and much more agile. But while digital strategies are advancing, just 36% of companies have achieved accounts payable, AP, and purchase to pay, P2P automation. So what are we really taking from this? The fear of complexity, using multiple systems for different documents and upsetting existing working practices are holding finance decision makers back from realizing full AP automation. But we have also noticed that the pandemic has encouraged companies to accelerate technology investments with a real focus on enabling efficient, productive, and safe remote working through cloud-based services, as the number shows. Cybersecurity is a priority investment as companies do recognize the need to better protect sensitive financial information and remote workers, followed by the mobility and the integration of applied artificial intelligence and analytics. So going into the first part here and just discussing the challenges of a world in crisis through cybersecurity, process control, and digital transformation. Now, in Luxembourg, we realised that CFO's top priorities really changed with the pandemic. And the trend is the same if we look at the data on a more global point of view as well. Now, let's dive into our findings here. Now, pre-COVID, increasing operational productivity, 23%, was the most important challenge for EU businesses that were surveyed, followed by communicating better with other departments, 21% of the surveyed, and gaining better control over day-to-day financial processes, 20%. Post-pandemic, the outlook is really different, and the top priority is now adapting to digital transformation, 24%, followed by strengthening cybersecurity practices, 20%. Those changes reflect both the challenges in achieving business as usual during a time of enforced home working, as well as the long-term changes to working practices, with home, remote, and hybrid working set to be the new normal for many, many organizations now. It's probably fair to say that COVID hasn't brought about a steep change in the challenges companies are facing, but it's interesting to see that there will be a much bigger focus on cybersecurity introduced by the new tools brought by the quick digital transformation everyone has had to encounter. Now, even though some priorities such as the increase of operational productivity or a better control on day-to-day financial practices, are becoming less important, companies are now more and more aware of the risks linked to regulatory compliance and of the costs linked to manual invoice processing. And the next years are really going to be marked by the adoption of new ways of working, aiming to move away from spreadsheets, reduce manual invoice processing costs, and so on. Now, the findings of this survey confirm problems that are still being caused by the continued reliance on manual processes, including damaged supply relationships that affect the entire business, not just finance. Now, over 1/4, so 27% here, of finance leaders said time-consuming processes were really the biggest problem related to manual accounts payable tasks, with 18% claiming that processes are just too complex. And issues such as manual approval of invoices, reliance on paper documents that need to be printed and shared across the business for authorization, result not only in delays, but also risk of errors and, of course, loss. Late payments is also high on the risk, with 36% here, a problem that can lead to fines, affect credit terms, and impact cash flow up and down supply chains. Now, late payments have long been recognised as potentially devastating to businesses, with hundreds of thousands of businesses at risk of insolvency every year because they do lack the reserves of larger organisations to cover delays. Plus, as payment accounts for around 60% of turnover for most businesses, taking too long to pay can also undermine supplier relations, of course. Now, moving on to part 2 here, and just to say, only 1 out of 5 accounts or finance departments use automated processes. And I just wanted to focus here on really what was the current situation and how we can kind of justify that. What is the reason behind that? Now, while digital transformation programs have been accelerated by the pandemic, the survey confirms that companies across the UK, the EU, and the US continue to overlook accounts processing automation, with many companies still heavily reliant on manual processes. Now, 1 in 5 businesses are still using Excel spreadsheets and manual processes for accounts payable, with just 36% having adopted full automation with end-to-end invoice capture, approval, and payment. Now, compared to other countries, Luxembourg is actually doing well. So if we talk about the UK, for example, only 18% of the companies have implemented an automated invoice processing solution. Some businesses are using data verification tools like optical character recognition, also known as OCR, that's 18%, or electronic document management solutions, EDMS, 18%. But these don't provide the cost, time, and productivity benefits of a fully automated tool. And it seems that despite finance leaders and businesses focusing on their digital transformation strategies during the pandemic, many are actually yet to prioritize the day-to-day functions of their accounting departments. And although they may seem small, the implications of poor and insufficient accounting and finance processes are really proving to be significant. Now, companies are spending huge amounts of time on each step of the accounts payable process, with 2/3 of businesses spending more than 1 working day managing vendor invoices. 18% are spending more than 100 plus hours managing vendor invoices per month. And this is obviously huge when you consider that long processing times are just not only very expensive, but they also generate a lot of errors due to the completely manual entry. And fortunately, there are a lot of solutions available on the market today that will really focus on reducing operational costs. And we're going to now look at the technological solutions available to help with this, these issues that we've just discussed: the long processing, the manual, the cybersecurity issues, and so on. Now, as organizations increasingly come to terms with the new challenges of a post-COVID economy, priorities are being set out to minimize any future disruption. Now, there's little doubt that the change in working conditions enforced by the pandemic forced many companies to really accelerate their cloud strategies, as moving to cloud systems and software as a service will be the preferred technology for 30% of businesses during the next year. And the change in the work environment also underlines the need for robust cybersecurity strategies, especially obviously for sensitive financial data, with securing data and sensitive financial information being a real top priority for 27% of businesses over the next 12 months. Improving mobility for accounting departments and bringing more and more AI, artificial intelligence, that will take over tedious and repetitive tasks is also becoming a real top priority for more than 18% of businesses when evaluating automated AP systems. Now, automation in the invoicing process has been shown to reduce the risk of fraud and cyber attacks through full traceability. And automation technologies that leverage artificial intelligence are really becoming essential tools in mitigating risks, helping decrease the time taken to alert stakeholders and increase speed to resolution. Automated traceability and cybersecurity are part of this rigorous process, making these solutions really effective in fighting fraud. as organizations sorry, I think I have an issue on my slide here. There we go, sorry. So moving on to that slide there. But the companies also need to ensure that they have the right tools in place to manage, control, and optimize the data that lies at the heart of the finance function. As a result, the integration of accounting or ERP software systems is becoming more urgent, as well as a new focus on data security, providing real-time access to documents and reducing the storage costs of data. So what are the expectations? Now, in an increasingly disrupted global economy, CFOs are becoming ever more strategically important, evolving from supporting the business to delivering tangible value through data-driven insight. Now, more than a third of businesses said reducing accounting errors through elimination of paper would be the biggest achievement for automated AP, and thus a perfect way to pay suppliers on time. A fourth is focusing on finding a way to have a better financial control while preventing fraud at the same time. That's 28% of the surveyed. Now, both benefits reflect the need to transform accounts payable processes, transformation which will lead to changes in other top priorities, such as cost reduction and a better agility and efficiency. Now, I'd like to take a bit of time now just to see how Yooz can help finance leaders achieve these targets and these objectives. So Yooz is a really complete AP automation solution, and we are really going to tackle those challenges and those pain points faced by AP finance teams and finance leaders and business leaders today. And there are several ways that we're going to go about that. First of all, through simplicity. So 6 main points here. Simplicity, as it's a cloud solution, it's just really easy to set up and use. You can be up and running in a matter of days or a matter of weeks. You don't need days and days of training. It's a real user-friendly solution. So it's just easy to use and easy to set up. You don't want to spend months and months of implementing a new solution. With Yooz, that is not the case. Savings. I mentioned in the few slides previously that obviously a manual process involves a lot of hidden costs that companies don't often think about. So obviously there's all the costs related to labor, to the finance teams, but there's also those costs that, as I've just said, people don't necessarily think of, such as all the hard costs. So for example, storing the invoices. You have to store your paper invoices, the archiving costs related to that, all the office supplies, all the office equipment, sending documents between different company sites, so postage costs. So loads of different costs that companies don't necessarily think about. But with Yooz, savings is a real important point here, and we can reduce costs by 80%. So that is based on a completely manual process. Thirdly, speed. Obviously, with a manual process, I mentioned it before, but you can have very long processing times, which means, of course, you can get late payment penalties. It can just be a bit of a headache. With an AP system like Yooz, you can cut your processing time from weeks or months to literally hours, cashing in on those early payment discounts. Just an example of a customer that I worked with a few years ago. They were actually it was taking them 2 to 3 months to actually process their invoices. So from receiving that invoice to its payment, it was taking them between 2 to 3 months. So obviously supplier relations were pretty bad. They were getting late payment penalties everywhere. Obviously, they weren't able to negotiate with their suppliers. They actually implemented Yooz, And in under 2 weeks, so from the time they set it up to 2 weeks later, they actually reduced their processing time to 2 to 3 days. And during those first 2 weeks of using the system, they actually cashed in on early payment discounts, improved supply relations, and it just took them 2 weeks. Fourthly here, traceability. So obviously with paper, bit hard to keep track of things. Who's got that invoice? When's it going to be paid? Has it been paid? Where is it? Supplier calls me. How do I know who currently has hold of it? With a system like Yooz, you are going to gain instant visibility on your processes. You'll be able to know exactly at any time where a document is, what stage it is at, and who currently has hold of that document. So instant visibility, no more losing documents as well, because everything will be stored on the system with very easy access through a keyword search, multiple criteria search, and just gaining traceability on the whole process as well. You'll be able to see, well, how much has been spent, how much is going to go out this month, what is overdue, and so on. Security, a very important point here, because we have discussed cybersecurity, and unfortunately during the pandemic, cybersecurity has increased a huge amount. And with Yooz, you are going to have, well, a fully compliant and fraud-free audit trail, fully compliant in the sense of the document storage, and fraud-free because we do have a functionality for fraud prevention and detection. You will never be able to process the same document twice. We will make sure that the bank details for each supplier match the ones on the invoice. We'll pick up on unusual amounts, and we'll also even pick up on forged invoices. So if an invoice was sent to you and before that it was, I don't know, sent into Photoshop and something was changed on that document, completely invisible to the naked eye, but it leaves traces on the document and in the actual file of the document that Yooz can pick up on. So you'll really be able to increase your security there with Yooz. And finally, zero risk, quite simply because you can try out the solution for free, 15-day free trial, no obligation, and you can also stop anytime. So there's no massive, huge investment to set up this solution, and you can even try it before you spend €1 or £1 or $1 wherever you are today. And how does it work? So this is just a view of the entire P2P process that Yooz can automate today. So from the PO, the purchase requisition, to the payment of the invoice. Now, first thing to know is that we will obviously create a link between Yooz and your finance system, your ERP system. So we have more than 250 connectors today, whether you are working on Sage, whether you're working on NetSuite, on Oracle, SAP, Microsoft, QuickBooks, Exact, loads and loads of different finance systems we can connect to. The aim of that is basically because what we will store in Yooz will be an exact copy of what you have in your finance system, your chart of accounts, your list of suppliers, your tax profile codes, your dimensions, your cost centers, all that's in your finance system will be imported into Yooz. Now, just to go over these different steps that you can see here, the first stage is the purchase stage. Now, this is not mandatory. Not all of our customers use this PO functionality. There are several ways to actually use it. Either you raise POs on your ERP. Maybe you have something already existing on your ERP or on your finance system. In that case, we can pick up the POs and store them in Yooz so that when you have an invoice, you have an automatic match between that invoice and that PO. If you don't have a PO system in place and you're looking to get a system in place and kind of improve your processes on that side of things as well, Yooz has that functionality. So we can activate this purchase functionality, which just enables a user to raise a PO. I need to order some office supplies, raise that PO, send it into a workflow so it can be approved by my manager, my company director, based on a workflow that's been previously set up. At the end of that workflow, Yooz is going to automatically generate a PO form with your logo, terms and conditions, that can be automatically sent to your supplier from Yooz. And you'll also be able to do your goods receiving. So that can be activated or not, completely up to you and the business rules that you have in place. What all of our companies do have is the capture side that you can see here. It's the second block. Now we have a multi-channel capture, which means Yooz can pick up any type of document, any format, whatever source. So whether they are invoices that have been sent in by email, EDI, supplier portal, by post, photo taken with a mobile phone, a scan, Yooz will be able to automatically pick up those documents, whatever the format and whatever the source. And there are two sides to capture. So once we have captured the documents, we're then going to capture the data on that document. So through artificial intelligence-based data extraction, Yooz will pick up the date, the supplier, the document number, the amounts, the due dates, and so on. So removing all that manual entry from the finance teams. Once that has all been captured, Yooz is going to send that document into a workflow. So those are the next three steps that you can see there: verify, approve, and pay. So verify, this is where the finance team come into the picture. So they're going to be the first people to see the invoices. And Yooz is going to automatically code the invoice to the correct nominal, the VAT code, the cost centers. So once again, removing all the manual entry there as well. And if a PO was raised, we will have an automatic match between the invoice and the PO and be able to pick up on any discrepancies if there are any. Once the finance team have reviewed those invoices, so no more manual entry for them, they will submit those documents and send them out for approval. And we will be able to send the documents automatically to specific users based on workflows that we have previously set up, based on the supplier, based on the amount, based on the cost center, based on the payment method. So we could, for example, say, if an invoice is over 100,000 euros, then I need it to be approved by 3 people. If it's under 100 euros, I don't need any approval at all. So we can really create completely automated and very intelligent workflows on the system there. And once the invoices have been completely approved, they will go on to the last step, which is the approval for payment. So this is where a user is going to say, okay, I have these invoices now. I know that they have been imported. I know that they have been approved. They're now ready to pay. Do I want to pay them based on a due date, in which case I can have a filter by due date, or do I just want to pay them as soon as they've been approved? So I'm going to approve the payment for those documents, and Yooz can also generate a BAX or a SAPA file that can be uploaded to the bank. And of course, once that has been done, Yooz is going to automatically export that data and import it into your finance system. And that can be done at any stage. It could, for example, be done after the verify stage. So you don't have to wait for an invoice to be completely approved before the information is sent back into your finance system. So the aim of all this is to remove all the manual entry, make things much more streamlined, much more secure. Now, we can have a completely no-touch process, and that is what you see at the top there. So it's basically a straight-through processing of a document. The document is captured, and automatically, if it meets certain criteria, then it's automatically verified and approved and sent back into the finance system. No one has to actually touch that document. So it's a completely no-touch process. I have, for example, in my list of clients, I have a client that processes more than, so they're processing currently 16,000 invoices a month, and 98% of them are a completely no-touch process. No discrepancies, everything has been picked up by the system. So they're just saving so much time. It's taking them less than a day to process their invoices. And through all of that, you're going to have access to different search and lookup tools, legal archiving of your documents, so you no longer need to store your paper documents, a completely regulated audit trail. You're going to have access to monitoring, how to optimize your processes. It's just a really complete tool, a complete package that's just going to really enable you to streamline, secure, and improve the processing and gain time and money. Now, that was it for my slide deck there, and I think we have some questions that have been coming in, so please do keep them coming in. I'm just going to read out some of those questions here. Can Yooz match my POs and invoices? Yes, it can. So just a bit of information on that, just to recap. But can Yooz match my POs and invoices? Several possibilities. If I just come back to this slide before. So as I mentioned, this purchase block can be either you're raising your POs in Yooz because you don't have a PO tool in place, or if you have a PO tool in place, Yooz can automatically pick up those POs, store them on the system, so that when we capture the invoice, we have an automatic match between that invoice and that PO, and we can pick up on any discrepancies. And we can also import the receptions as well. So you have, I don't know, ordered 10 products, received 5, but you've been invoiced for 10. Yooz is going to pick up on that discrepancy, and we can launch a specific workflow. So we could say if there is a discrepancy based on a specific percentage or an amount, then we can launch the workflow. It can be sent to a specific user. So yes, absolutely no problem with matching POs to invoices. Another question is, how do you connect with ERPs? How do we connect with ERPs? That's a very good question. We have, so as I mentioned, we have more than 250 different connectors today. So with loads of obviously the most well-known names on the market, but we have actually more than 4,000 clients today in more than 30 different countries. So obviously we come across new ERPs and new finance systems every week. We create new connectors on a very regular basis. And how do I connect with an ERP? Now, this really depends on the ERP actually, because we can set up just a simple flat file exchange, which probably 99% of ERPs can do today. Yooz is going to generate a flat file in the ERP's format, and the ERP can come and pick that up. Or we have other different possibilities, such as APIs. So we have an open API that an ERP can come and delve into, or we can go and fetch the ERP's API. It really depends on the ERP that you're using. So that can be discussed with one of our project managers if you want to go into a bit more detail on that side of things. And the exchanges can be in both ways. So the ERP sending information into Yooz, and Yooz sending information into the ERP. And at a frequency up to you to determine. It could be once a night. It could be as soon as a document is processed. So as you go, it can be every hour, completely up to you as well. Another question is, do you have an idea why the world is so slow about do you have an idea why the world is so slow about adopting full AP automation? Yes, we've conducted a few surveys on that as well, because we found that there are a lot of myths surrounding AP automation. So it's actually, if I'm not wrong, it's 42% of business leaders today know that AP automation is the way to go, but they're holding back because there are so many myths surrounding AP automation. So just to give you a few here, a lot of companies think that it's just going to be this massive project that is going to take months and months or years to implement, and it's just going to be too complicated. So those are one of the myths. With Yooz, that is not the case, because we can get you up and running running in a matter of days or weeks. It's really easy. No days and days of training. It's just a really simple to get up and running solution. Another myth that we come across is that it's too expensive. That once again, AP automation is going to be a massive system that's just going to cost thousands and thousands or hundreds of thousands of pounds, dollars, or euros, or whatever currency you're using today. With Yooz, once again, that is not the case. We have prices that start at as little as £99 per month, so really accessible. The aim with the Yooz was to make AP automation accessible to any company, whatever the size. As I said, prices start at €99 per month. Another myth, which is preventing a lot of companies from rolling out AP automation, is user acceptance. So they have finance teams that have been processing their invoices in a certain way for I don't know how many years. It's manual, but that's how they do it, and they're happy doing it like that. And a lot of companies just think that they're not going to be able to change the ways of the people that are working for them. And once again, this was an aim, a myth that we have decided to combat with Yooz, because we have a solution that is very, very user friendly. You don't need days of training. In fact, finance teams and approvers only need 1 to 2 hours training to be up and running on the system. And some you could actually just log on to the system and figure it out yourself. It is that easy. So user acceptance is genuinely not an issue that we have today, just because it's such a user-friendly and easy to adopt solution. Another myth that we come across, and why a lot of companies don't pursue AP automation, is cybersecurity issues. Yooz being a cloud solution, we have a huge number of security systems and certifications in place. We work with banks, we work with insurance companies, we work with hospitals, clinics, we work with banks, so who have security needs that are very, very high and that we respect with our solutions. So we have very high security functionalities in place, so no issues on cybersecurity there. And I think I've gone through quite a few of the myths there. Oh, the last one was, a lot of companies also think that the the AP automation solution that they're going to put in place is not necessarily going to connect with their other systems. So they're going to have a PO tool, they're going to have a finance system, they're going to have an ERP, and they're going to have an AP automation system that just aren't going to connect. And that is not the case. As I mentioned, we have more than 250 connectors today. And the aim is to have all those systems communicating together, so that it just streamlines all the processes and removes all that manual entry. How does Yooz proceed with payment? So how does Yooz do the payment? So Yooz does not automatically generate the payment, but there are several ways of going about this. So first of all, as I mentioned, once the invoice has been approved for payment on the system, Yooz can generate a BACS or a SAPA file. So it's an XML format that can be integrated into the bank to release the payments. The other possibility is if you are dealing with payments in your ERP or your finance system. So in this process, once the invoices have been verified by the finance team, we're going to send all the coding back into the finance system. And when we send that coding back, we can send it back with a little flag saying that it hasn't yet been approved for payment. And once it's been approved for payment in Yooz, we're going to update the status of the invoice in the ERP. So it's flagged as ready for payment. And then your ERP can just proceed with the payment as it has previously done. We can also connect to different payment solutions on the market as well. So once again, once it's been approved in Yooz, we're going to update the status and send the information back into the payment system. I think I have one more question that I would like to just go into. I'll be very quick and then we will end it on that. But I have a question here. What is the difference between what you call full AP automation and the automation I have with my ERP? So ERP based versus best of breed. So obviously an ERP is a massive package with all your finance system in there, your chart of accounts, all that information. So you do need an ERP, you do need a finance system. Now, some of these finance systems have plugged on an additional feature for AP automation. Obviously, it's not what they do best because they are an ERP system. So they concentrate on their ERP package more than they will on the AP automation system. Best of breed, such as Yooz, well, we do AP automation. It's what we do the best. It is only what we do, I would like to say. So our system has been rated one of the best in the world. Our optical character recognition has been rated best in the world as well. So we work on our solution day in, day out. We reinvest 25% of our revenue in our research and development teams so that we're continuously improving, adding new functionalities, whereas an ERP based automation system, well, their job is to sell their ERP system. So that's what they need to be great. And they just add a block onto it for AP automation because they have that request. But ultimately, what you can do best is to have your ERP and have a best of breed solution that just connects, because that is where you're going to get the best return on investment and the best results. It also means that if you do change your ERP, well, you've still got your AP automation that can connect, can log on to your new ERP system. You don't have to change the whole process. I think we're going to wrap it up there. I would like to thank everyone for your time. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for all your really interesting questions. If you'd like to learn a bit more about Yooz, feel free to log on to our website, www.getyooz.com. You'll find loads of different surveys. You'll find some customer success stories. You can even log in for a demo if you want to see a bit more or request a free trial. So thank you so much for joining me today. Have a great afternoon, and we hope to speak to you very soon. Bye-bye.